Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. Didn't even record that. I didn't catch it.
Oh.
Yep.
Are you catching this?
Yep. I'm catching this. We'll see. This may be a complete disaster. Complete. Unmitigated. How are you?
I am good. I'm good.
I've missed you a lot.
I have missed you, and I'm glad that you're back in the land of the living.
This is a horrible 5 weeks of nastiness.
It really, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you. That was really awful.
It was so bad. It was so bad. So this is just before we get too far down the road of my illness. This is the next reel. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, listening. It's quite possible you may be listening to the show live on the internet. That's right. You can now go to thenextreel.com/live, and when we broadcast, usually it's Thursday. Usually Thursday nights, we usually get started around 8:30. And I think we're going to
8:30
Pacific time.
Pacific time.
And we're gonna. I think we're gonna try this for a little while. Try and keep the old live channel open. And we don't have a way tonight to take Insta questions. We're not monitoring Twitter. We're not monitoring Facebook right now. But right now we're just talking and testing. So if you are joining us, welcome. And if you're not, join us hopefully for future weeks as we get this going. We spoil movies, and we don't feel a lot of guilt about that here at the Next Reel, because usually they're really old movies, and you should feel the guilt for not having seen them. But we do spoil them heavily, and you should know that going in. So if you don't want to be spoiled, not our fault if you don't stop right now and go watch the movie and then come back. That's your job. You can find us on our website at thenextreel.com. Listen to the show. Check out any of the trailers that we talk about. You can also like us on facebook.com/thenextreel. And it sure helps us if you like us. It helps other people discover the show. You can catch up with us at on the phone even. You can leave us a fancy voicemail at 657-201-7335, 657-201-REAL, the heart of Anaheim. If you leave us a message, we might just play it on the air. You can email us at show@thenextreel. And if you're listening to the show on the website, go subscribe to the show in iTunes. By far, the largest portion of our listenership comes in iTunes. You can leave us a 5-star rating. It definitely helps other people discover the show if you do that. So, did I leave anything out?
I think you got every little thing.
Excellent. So now, I don't need to talk about my illness anymore.
Yeah, it's gone. It's in the past.
It's gone. Right? It's in the past. I'm still on the antibiotics, which are really fantastic. And I wish they would add something to antibiotics. I mean, as long as it doesn't, it just makes you kind of feel better, but not great. If there was, it'd be great in an antibiotic, a narcotic.
That would really make. I think that might defeat the purpose. But.
I'm just saying a little boost. I felt like junk, and I'm telling you, my doctor could have thrown me a bone. I'm not a drug user, and I'm not an advocate. I don't advocate drug use. Disclaimer.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to talk about tonight? We got a couple trailers we're gonna chew on, and then we're officially gonna wrap up our current series. Right?
Yes, tonight we're officially wrapping up our John Huston series, this round of our John Huston series with 1985's Prizzi's Honor.
Fantastic.
After we discuss, I actually am not bringing a trailer to the table today. I was going to talk about the new TV series, if you can call it that, Netflix series House of Cards.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really a fantastic show. I'm not quite halfway through it, and it's exciting what Netflix is doing with shows like this. They've got, I think, this, and Eli Roth has some sort of a horror show that they're going to be doing, releasing next month, I believe, and then Arrested Development returns. So they're kind of cranking this whole little experiment of theirs out, and I have a feeling it's going to be quite a success.
Well, it feels like a lot more than an experiment, if you ask me. They're putting enough money behind it and removing enough of the constraints, of the restraints that typical television that falls into typical television production. That I heard a great quote from the content strategist, or the chief digital content guy at Netflix, and I can't remember his name. I'll have to dig up the source. But he said, our job is to become HBO before HBO becomes Netflix.
Yeah.
And you're really seeing that with it just truly amping the quality of the independent shows. And I love the binge. I love binging on shows.
Oh, it's the best. You get all 13 episodes, like they release them all the same day.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic. And aside from that, it's actually a fantastic show. David Fincher is one of the executive producers, along with Kevin Spacey, Eric Roth.
Didn't Fincher direct the first 2 episodes?
He directed the first 2 or 3 of the episodes, and then I think James Foley directed a couple, and Joel Schumacher. Like, they're getting some big name people to come on board and direct these episodes, showing that it is really an A game sort of production that they're putting on here.
Yeah,
it's very smart, and bringing Fincher and these people on to start, I think this whole thing that they're doing now is really a smart way to go.
Well, I wonder, it has such appeal from a production standpoint. If you're a director interested in Serial, I mean, how exciting would it be to go do something for ABC Studios versus Netflix, which really is trying to do things differently. It's funding at appropriate levels to do something really big, which I think is very appealing, very exciting for guys like Fincher and Foley, and you can just really tell this is not a typical series. I mean, it feels like each episode is a film.
Yeah,
it's that level of sort of quality and intrigue, really well written.
I'm curious how it's going to fit in to the world of awards, since it's not on broadcast television.
Well, Nielsen announced today or yesterday, I think, that that they're now including streaming as first-class citizens in measurement.
Well, there you go.
And so I think that will change some things, and I think they did it largely because of House of Cards and our friends the Bluths that are coming back. I mean, I think there is enough sort of popular momentum around these shows on alternative networks, and I think it's great. It's frankly what what new networks like what YouTube is frankly trying to do, and really to get some notice. That there's quality material online.
And, it's really going to be interesting because Netflix, there have been reports that have since come out how Netflix is so tapped into all of the data that they get from viewers. They know when you watch a show. They know when you pause a show. They know when you turn a show off. They know how often you rewatch a show. They have all the statistics that they need about your household, and they can use those statistics to better determine what sorts of programming that they should continue to do. A lot of people that I've been reading or seeing comments on some of these articles seem to be a little nervous about that, afraid of how this could turn into nothing but Netflix spinning out the next Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the sort of stuff that isn't necessarily good, but they have determined through the data that it will make a lot of money. I don't know. I think that there's still going to be a level of quality, and if they're working with quality people, I feel like they're still going to find the right audiences and be making the right projects.
It's funny. I've seen Reed Hastings speak a couple of times, Reed Hastings, CEO of Netflix, and I think what's really important to sort of meter that sentiment is that, frankly, this is a guy that deeply loves film. Right? I mean, he's an entrepreneur, but he is an educator. He's a philanthropist, and he is a guy who is very passionate about media. And I have a hard time, this is one of those feelings that it is just sort of a gut check feeling that when you look at the leadership of the organization of Netflix and you see what they've tried to do, what they have done to successfully change, the media landscape in this country and our expectations for, sort of popular media. I have a hard time believing that this is a guy who's going to allow the data to sabotage quality.
I think what they're trying to do is establish a baseline of high quality and sort of go from there. I mean, I see Netflix as the next seeder for Game of Thrones more than Crystal Skull.
Well, I can see where people are getting that fear because, I mean, to be honest, producing 13 hours of a show in one go without having any test to see if it's going to work.
Right.
I mean, they really have to make sure that show is, up to snuff before they invest that money. Because if they dump it out in one day, dump a 13 episode show, and nobody's interested, I mean, that's a lot of money they just blew.
Well, it is, but when you think about it, really, the 13 episodes is the test. You can't get a test of a concept like this without doing the whole thing. Right?
Yeah.
And what it determines is if nobody's interested, then we won't get any more 13-episode series, until, the right story comes along. But I do not see that as the case for House of Cards. It seems like they picked just the right, just the right content, the right concept in the right context right now in our period of political history that makes it so interesting to watch this story unravel. It feels not fictional.
Yeah. It doesn't. It feels like I'm watching.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm getting an inside scoop. So this is what they're up to.
Yeah, exactly.
Up on Capitol Hill.
Have you, the original, the BBC version of House of Cards is available on Netflix, and if you haven't checked it out, it's definitely worth checking out. By comparison alone, it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out too.
My trailer of the evening is. It's kind of in the same vein in terms of changing media landscape and how this stuff gets created. I am fascinated by this new trailer for Finding Vivian Maier. Have you seen this thing?
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting.
Finding Vivian Maier is a documentary that unravels this sort of discovery at auction of a collection of 100,000 negatives from this nanny who really, I mean, it turns out is one of the premier street photographers in what is it when she's already dead? In posthumously, she's she is fantastic, and this guy discovered, and he paid like $300 for this set of this whole collection of negatives, and started like 700 undeveloped cans of film, and it turns out this woman who was a nanny for these two kids and this family for the longest time had this very mysterious, sort of secretive life. And so this film was originally a Kickstarter project. This guy just found this collection and thought, this sounds like a great story. And he asked for $20,000, and out of 1,495 backers, he ended up raising $105,000 to tell this story. And I think that is, sure, there are a lot of these stories about we see the Keystone stories, right, where they're funded, they make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's all great. That's just a drop in the bucket compared to those that don't get funded. But in this case, I think it really demonstrates the power of getting out of a traditional studio model. I don't think this film would have been made or without that sort of public and popular support that Kickstarter allowed it to achieve. So it's a fascinating story. The trailer, the new trailer, as it sort of unravels, it really sort of introduces this new secret kind of mystery angle that was missing from the initial Kickstarter video, and I think it's fascinating. It's just fascinating to watch. So I definitely think you should check that out. Check out the Kickstarter page. You can't you can't back it anymore. It's been funded, but it's certainly worth looking at the story that this guy built to get his film made. Yeah,
it looks really interesting.
Yeah. Fantastic. Vivian Maier, just unreal.
And great photos, too. I mean,
her
photos, just the way that she captures people's expressions in the doing things that look so natural. It's, pretty stunning stuff.
It is. It's wonderful. So I'm very excited about that. So it's a whole new media extravaganza.
Here.
Okay. Now, are we ready? I mean, are we just going to jump right into it?
I guess, yeah. We'll happy Valentine's Day.
You didn't get me anything.
How do you know? I just didn't mail it.
It happened to my aunt once. I love my aunt. And she once, I went to visit my aunt. And she says, "Yeah, I've got like 5 years of Christmas presents for you and your family sitting in my closet." Didn't know it was coming.
Nice.
Ended up getting an April booty, April Christmas booty.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was great. Socks and Tupperware and all sorts of good stuff.
There's a combination every kid wants.
That's right.
Socks and Tupperware.
That's right. You heard
What a
it.
giver. What a giver.
Okay, so Prizzi's Honor. John Huston, Prizzi's Honor, 1985.
Yeah.
Starring Jack Nicholson, Kathleen Turner, Robert Loggia, Anjelica Huston, the great William Hickey, and even better, the fact that John Randolph and William Hickey are in this movie together. I had forgotten that. And that makes me, I mean, I was giddy watching this movie. John Randolph and William Hickey were both in the great National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation together.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, my goodness. When I saw them on screen together, I got the chills ran up my neck. I was like, Uncle Lewis.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, right. Okay, so what do you think of this movie? If I recall, you, when we added this movie to the list, we're jumping many decades from the last film that we covered, and you, I think, had not seen this movie in forever,
right?
And I think we're nervous.
I don't know if I was nervous, but I just hadn't seen it since college, and I wasn't sure what I was going to expect when I popped it in again, and I liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as I was thinking I would, but even though I didn't quite like it as much, I did find it imminently watchable.
Yeah. But okay, I'm really curious what elements of it you found not so watchable. Because there were some in there there were some things going on in this movie that were hard to watch for me.
Well, I appreciate what Jack Nicholson was trying to do with his character. But all I could think about was that he had, I just kept picturing him going, okay, Marlon Brando stuffed cotton balls in his cheeks and did such a great job in The Godfather. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to stuff it all up under my upper lip.
Like I'm fighting a horrendous bloody nose.
And that's, I always had a hard time watching him because he looked like he had stuffed cotton balls under his upper lip. And
he totally did. Or Botox, like gone totally wrong.
Yeah, that was a struggle.
All right, that was the exact same struggle I had, and as prominent a role as he has in this film, it is tough to watch this performance from Nicholson, and it makes it's such a bittersweet kind of a thing because I have a real affinity for Jack Nicholson, I think as many people do, and to see him kind of waddle through this film with that horrendous accent. All I could think about was that Al Pacino turned down this role. And I found myself thinking about that a lot during this. What would AP have done in this film?
Or what would MB have done? Marlon Brando.
What would Brando have done? I mean, it's just, oh man.
I mean, I'll just jump to the awards for this, but I mean, it was a loved film back in 1985. A
surprise well-loved film.
Yeah, it received 8 Oscar nominations, one of which was Jack Nicholson as Best Actor in a Leading Role. He didn't win, he just was nominated, but still.
Yeah,
I was a little surprised by that.
That would have been horrible.
Yeah. William Hurt won out for Kiss of the Spider Woman and definitely deserved it.
Well, though this film was nominated for a number of things, a number of awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor. Hickey's performance as the Don, Best Screenplay based on material from another meeting. So it's an adaptation from the book by Richard Condon. Best Costume Design and Best Film Editing. But what it won for was Anjelica Huston's Best Supporting Actress portrayal as Mayrose Prizzi.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
She was really great. And I have always loved Anjelica Huston, even in the Tinkerbell movies. She's great. I've always loved her. She was in a great movie when I was younger called The Witches, which is based on a Roald Dahl book, which I loved. She was in the Addams Family movies, the Royal Tenenbaums. I mean, she's just always been wonderful in everything she's done. She was great in 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Anjelica Huston, though, that I have never, I had forgotten that she was in this movie, right? And I have never seen her as cute.
No, I would agree. I can find her sexy in a kind of a classical, when I say classical, I mean going back to the Renaissance, portrait sort of way, right?
Yeah.
Like I can see her, in that sense. She's got this beauty that but it's not something that you're really attracted to.
You're really
I agree
not.
with you there.
And this movie, I found myself really touched by the sort of adorableness of Mayrose Prizzi, and I found her just sort of beautiful and kind of sexy, but flirtatious and a little bit nuts, but in all the right ways. And the way the overall sort of arc of the film sort of starts with, where we're sort of introduced to her character as the crazy, scorned kind of, out of the family daughter of the boss,
right.
Because this relationship with Charlie, Nicholson's character, had gone south. And then it ends on her staring out the window, accepting an invitation to dinner from Charlie. That sort of romantic circle of life, I think, ends up making her character, like everything they go through in this film, it ends up making her, I think, the most interesting character in the film. Certainly the most watchable.
Well, and I think it ties into the whole idea of the honor, Prizzi's honor, because it's the honor that Charlie has to show the family because he is, he's in it, not directly in the bloodline, but by, being a part of the family. And, he does, the little, prick on the finger, and he and the Don, do the little blood brother sort of thing. So there's that, but it's you've got the Prizzi's honor that Charlie has to stand up for, and in the whole relationship that he has with Kathleen Turner's character.
Right.
But then there's also the Prizzi's honor that we have in Mayrose, and how she lost her honor essentially because of Charlie. And even though everybody essentially kind of blamed her because I guess, she was the woman, she must have been at fault.
Right.
She was the reason that he, went and philandered with another woman. And so she went and philandered with another guy, and, all that sort of stuff. But it's also bringing her honor back into the family. And essentially by now reconnecting with Charlie, I guess theoretically she has regained her honor in the Prizzi family.
Yeah, there was a strange twist, and maybe it's because I did not grow up in a mafia family. Where
you did? I thought we both did.
the Radionis. That somehow her honor was redeemed when Charlie got married to another woman.
Yeah,
I didn't understand that. That didn't make any sense to me.
It didn't make sense to me either. I think it was because they felt that she shamed him in their engagement because she cheated on him, even though he had already cheated on her. They didn't seem to care about that. But because, and that's why they loved him so much also, I think, because he had been wronged by a member of their family. So that made them love him all the more. And because he finally, quote unquote, was able to find love again after being so horribly ruined by her, that made it where, okay, he's okay now. We can let you be a part of the family again. It's kind of a funky thing, and I think that's my interpretation of it. But
All right.
yeah, like you said, we're not from mafia family. So if any of our listeners are
mafia families,
let us know if we're in the right on that one.
From afar, just send us a tweet.
Yes,
that's as close as we need to get.
Yes.
So the main story, the main romantic story outside of the fantastic Anjelica Huston is between Charlie and Kathleen Turner. And so when I thought about this movie before I'd watched it again, I had associated it with War of the Roses.
Oh, yeah.
Which was Michael Douglas and that was Kathleen Turner, right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito.
And Danny DeVito. And that's how I remembered Prizzi's Honor, and I was pleased at just how I don't know what's the word, delicately the romance and the twist of their relationship is unveiled. It's that really dark sort of comedic pacing, not that slapstick comedic pacing, and I found that really appealing. The upshot is he falls in love with her at a wedding. Turns out she was the hired contract killer to assassinate another enemy of the family, and they keep getting, each of them, Charlie and Irene keep getting these these sort of jobs to, and eventually end up killing each other.
Right.
But the way that is paced through long scenes of long dialogue shots, that I didn't find overwhelming or heavy-handed. I just felt like they were giving me a great story. It was much more of sort of a novel on screen for me.
Yeah, which could come from John Huston's love of adaptations,
right,
and from the book itself, which I haven't read. But it does have kind of a novelistic feel to it. It doesn't feel like a typical like gun-toting mafia film, and it is a mafia comedy, a mafia, if you will.
Man, that's a series.
A mafia.
Is that a thing? I mean, have you heard that? Are you making that up?
I'm making that up. I'm going to add it to our lexicon.
I'm making a note.
That's right.
How would you spell mafia? M-A-F-E-D-Y.
Yeah, mafia.
It's a mafia comedy.
That's right. And I think that's an element of it that I think kind of initially distracts me when I'm watching it, and then once I kind of get into the groove of it, I'm like, okay, yeah, it is kind of a comedy. I mean, you've got some real quirky situations. You've got this love story between Irene and Charlie that just happens out of the blue. Like literally, it is one of those like, Sleepless in Seattle sorts of love stories where they look at each other and they just know,
Right, they know, and I love that because this came out in 1985, and there was sort of that I feel like there were a lot of movies in orbit in the mid 80s that were like that. When you have Prelude to a Kiss and Sleepless in Seattle and all, well, all those that came out a little later. But the point is, it happened over a matter of hours. They knew they were going to get married in a matter of 24 hours.
Right.
And so that, if you can get through that, then this ends up being a quaint romance film as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I could get through that. I felt good about that.
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy that element of the story, and I like the struggle that he ends up having, because when he finds out that that she's involved in other things other than this contract killer that they'd hired, but in fact she also stole a ton of money from them,
right?
And now he's got to get it back, and he can't, and the only option is to kill her. It becomes a really interesting struggle for him as essentially kind of a stupid man, that he has to struggle between love and the family honor.
Right.
And I like that. And it is interesting that you could see this film going a completely different direction. In fact, I think in most cases, films like this with a story like this goes the other direction, where the two star-crossed lovers love is the strength that they have, and nothing else can tear them apart. Screw the family, screw everyone else. Normally, that's how the stories go, right?
Yeah.
Romeo, Juliet, all of that. This is an interesting film where he goes the opposite direction and says, no, I have this blood oath to the family, and as much as I love you and as much as you are the person for me, I'm going to throw a knife through your neck.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and that sort of brings us to Huston, and the Huston sort of cinematic DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself thinking, just the way the name always gets me, Andrzej Bartkowiak.
Andrzej. It's Anjay Bartkowiak. Yeah,
Anjay Bartkowiak. You've been practicing that just to make me look bad.
That's right.
It's sort of this combination of the low, almost Dutch tilt, sort of noir in a movie that is otherwise in color, and I think that was jarring to me, having spent so much of the last 3-4 weeks working in black and white. And the overall tone of darkness that is in this film, insofar as we're encouraged to, from an audience perspective, to really fall in love with kind of the Nicholson Turner role, and the innocence and craziness of the Huston role, and yet all of these people have fault, and that is they're all sort of part of a dark crime family, and I think it's fun to kind of feel yourself let go of the fact that there isn't a good guy in this film.
Yeah.
And that's very Huston to me.
Yeah, you have a lot of really human characters. Like, they all have faults. They all feel real, even though it's kind of a broad comedy in the sense of how things play out and all that. It still feels like a group of real people that are all just kind of struggling with decisions in day-to-day life, even if they do happen to be in the mafia.
And they're criminals, right? I mean, you think about it, even the phone call to Peaches, right? The Peaches, the housekeeper,
the lovely CCH Pounder,
the
from
lovely
the Shield.
Exactly, CCH Pounder. She is stoned to the bejesus belt. Right. I mean, that's like a 45-second phone call. And we're introduced to this character who is otherwise, your expectation is this otherwise sort of innocent answering the phone kind of housekeeper. And even she is getting stoned on the company dime.
Yep.
I find that fascinating. I found that whole the whole environment fascinating. I found myself constantly checking myself that this was a movie and that was sort of so true to so much of what John Huston had done so many years ago, and how consistent his approach to filmmaking was.
Yeah, definitely true. And it's interesting, fitting in with the author, Richard Condon, and his books, is he really wrote books and stories that were about organizations and faulty organizations. And it's interesting going from The Manchurian Candidate, which he wrote back in the 60s, and looking at this, Prizzi's Honor, and you're seeing like this government, this creepy program that's trying to essentially take over the government. And now you've got the mafia and people dealing with their loyalties and their relationships with these organizations. And it is the organizations almost have their own lives in these films that and stories that Condon is telling. And I sense that is something that really drew Huston to the story. It seems like something that really fits in with what sorts of stories that he wants to tell.
Absolutely. And gosh, so look, think about don't bring it up. I know you probably have it open in tab, but can you name how many of the top 5 films of 1985 can you name?
1985. Well, I already said. Now I'm forgetting what I said. William Hurt. He won Best Actor for The Kiss of the Spider Woman. So there's that, and this, and gosh.
And yet Kiss of the Spider Woman did not enter the top 20.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there you go.
Uh,
I don't think so. Well, no, Back to the Future takes place in 1985.
number 1.
Yeah.
Number 1 in 1985. Number 2 and number 3, same actor. Can you get
Secret of My Success and Teen Wolf?
No. Oh, this is so good.
Oh, same actor, but not from Back to the Future?
No, the same actor in the number 2 and number 3 spots.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of Michael J. Fox.
Oh,
Sorry.
no.
Okay, so number 2 and number 3 in 1985. 1985. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It's Sly Stallone.
Oh, okay.
Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rocky 4.
Oh, there you go.
And then The Color Purple and Out of Africa.
Sure, yeah.
But you look at the rest of them. I mean, Cocoon, The Jewel of the Nile, Goonies, Spies Like Us, Police Academy 2, crazily enough, Fletch, European Vacation, The Breakfast Club, White Nights, I know is a high one on your list.
Mm-hmm.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Brewster's Millions. I mean, there are a lot of big comedies in 1985, and it's interesting that interesting to me that Prizzi's Honor, they didn't expect it to be a big success, and so it was sort of rushed to market, and it ended up building sort of that sleeper vibe and becoming a success of its own momentum. It didn't make the top 20, but it sort of fits you can see sort of how it fits in the tone of the films that did. It takes an interesting story and makes it sort of goofball and cute and dark.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the sort of film that seems like it will slowly find its audience.
Right.
So, yeah.
I need to go watch White Nights again. That Gregory Hines.
I'm going to start singing.
Totally.
What was that song?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Oh, man. So was that Say You, Say Me?
There you go. Say it together.
And separate lives. Phil Collins.
No, I don't remember that one.
What?
I am sorry.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I'm having such a hard time not breaking into song. You know who I love? I love that Isabella Rossellini. This is not a show about White Nights. Let's get back to the point because I could talk about this all night.
So interestingly, this film was made when Anjelica Huston and Jack Nicholson were a couple.
That is interesting.
They were a couple, yet because of the relationship in the film, Anjelica Huston felt that in order to keep everything right, that she and Jack could not live together while they were making the film. She said that they needed to live in different hotels while on location in Brooklyn because she didn't want to be bringing home the character baggage at night. And, she had a great line. She said, Jack said that he generally dropped Charlie Partana toward dinner time. I said that I often carried May Rose through to dessert.
Wow.
So I think that, I think that they were bringing their characters home and they needed to kind of live apart for a little while. So I think that's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. And, we mentioned already that she did win her Oscar for supporting actress. This is the second time that John Huston directed a family member to a supporting acting Academy Award.
Yeah. And the first was
his father from Treasure of the Sierra Madre,
which we've talked about. And if you haven't heard, you should go back and listen to it.
Absolutely.
That was a great movie.
It is. It's really fantastic.
So how do you? I feel like I've kind of droned on about how I feel like this movie fits the Huston vibe. What's your take as a filmmaker?
It definitely has his storytelling. It's all about character. The whole thing really feels about these characters, and Huston really connects to the characters. And the filmmaking style is not an in-your-face style. It's kind of set back. It's letting you enjoy it. I mean, it does have some of those, like you were saying, those noirish sorts of angles and everything. But for the most part, he's really kind of letting the characters live and tell their story. The Andrzej Bartkowiak's cinematography, I think, has just a nice, lush, rich look. He's been doing this forever, and I think he's jumped to director a few times. But I mean, if you look at his list of cinematography roles, I mean, I don't know if he's still working, not a lot. He looks like he took like a 10-year break from 2000 to 2011, and actually that's when he was doing his directing with awful films. Sometimes when cinematographers decide to start directing, they do nothing but just garbage. Romeo Must Die, Exit Wounds, Cradle to the Grave, Doom, Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li. Those are all the films he's been directing. But as a cinematographer, you've got The Verdict, Terms of Endearment, Prizzi's Honor, The Morning After, Twins. Let's see, Falling Down. You've got
Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak. Speed. I mean, he's a guy. I mean, he does his action stuff. He definitely does his action stuff, but he's a great cinematographer. I think he brings a really just nice, natural look to the whole film. It just always looks clean, looks just it looks good. It looks like just a good-looking film. Rudy Fair came on as editor for this film, who I believe he had retired from editing, but he had worked with John Huston on Key Largo. So he had been around forever, and then he retired.
Time,
yeah, he retired in 1954, not that long after Key Largo. He did a few more films. I think Dial M for Murder was one of his last films he did before he retired. And then Huston wanted him to come back, and so he came back, and he brought his daughter, what's her name? Kaja Fair, and they edited this film together and got an Academy Award nomination for it. So they did a great job with the editing of the film, and Don Feld did the costumes, really nice costumes in this film, and his name is Don Feld, but he goes by Don Feld, which just seems like he was destined to be a costume designer.
Oh, doesn't it? That's funny.
But he designed the costume for Linda Carter in Wonder Woman, which is exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
And
it's pretty exciting. And
the big helmet.
Did he design the Schwartz?
The Dark Helmet's helmet.
Epic.
So it's a great team of people came on board to make this film, and I thought they did a bang up job with it. Jumping back into other actors also who I think are worth pointing out.
Stanley Tucci.
This was his first film. I looked at the film twice and I still couldn't figure
it out. He's Soldier.
Yeah, wherever he is. If you know where he is, let us know.
That was great.
But Lawrence Tierney also pops up in this as Lieutenant Hanley. Lawrence Tierney is an amazing actor who, Tarantino fans will know that he was in Reservoir Dogs. But he's a man who was a great noir actor back in the day. He was in Dillinger, and he was in Born to Kill, some just absolutely great noir films from the 40s. Definitely a guy who has been around the block and is somebody that's worth looking at. So, he really, Huston, who was really sick when he was making this, kind of the 80s, he really had a hard time. He was, was it emphysema that he had? He was kind of walking around with his, I think it was emphysema. He was walking around with his oxygen tank all the time.
Right.
It was around this time, between this and The Dead, which is his next film and his last film. He was just really, really, really sick and had a hard time. And I think that, he just really wanted to tell a good story, tell a story about some really interesting characters, because this is a man who's all about storytelling. he had the spirit, the creativity, the drive to get stuff up on screen. And even though he was at this point frail and dying, he still wanted to get some more films out there. So in the 80s, he was pretty consistent. He did Phobia in 1980, Victory in 81, Annie in 82, Under the Volcano in 84, Prizzi's Honor in 85, and The Dead in 87.
Right.
And he died in 1987 at the age of 81. So he was directing Prizzi's Honor at the age of 78, 79.
Wow.
You don't get a lot of directors who are still directing great quality films at that age.
No, you sure don't. So how would you summarize the collection that we've done in this run?
Well, let's see. We did Maltese Falcon, Treasure of the Sierra Madre. What am I missing? Key Largo.
Mm-hmm.
What's what I'm missing?
Asphalt Jungle.
Asphalt Jungle. Thank you. And Prizzi's Honor.
We do our African Queen.
Well, an African Queen, which we did in our Jack Cardiff series, but definitely something that is a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Huston is an actor's director. He really loves big characters in interesting stories. He definitely loves crime stories. That definitely played a big part. He loves people who deal with situations that are big and that they don't necessarily succeed at. I think I talked last time about the nature of fate in his films and how fate often plays a part in the films, like they did in The African Queen, like it does in The Asphalt Jungle. This one, it doesn't seem fate so much as really kind of family, and it's interesting because now that he's in his late 70s by the time he's making this, family is obviously a very important part of his life and something that he really cares about. And so it's interesting to me that this is a film that he decides to do, both this and The Dead, as two films that seem very kind of family oriented as his last two films, just kind of showing his connection to
the sensibilities of family. I mean, I was gonna say The Dead is just really, I mean, you can see that sort of in so many ways that intimacy is really sort of that's kind of the pinnacle of his filmmaking in terms of familial intimacy and the lessons that come from family.
Absolutely. So
fantastic. Well, this has been awesome. So there are we're going to come back to Huston, I think, right?
I think so. I think it will be fun to look at a few more of his films. I mean, he's got a lot of films, a lot of really interesting ones, a lot of really bad ones, but they're all entertaining.
Well, they're entertaining, and what I find what we haven't done really is focus on any of the on any of him as an actor. Everything we've done is writer director, and I think there are so many films that he's just terrific as an actor, and maybe we'll talk about Man from the South again.
There you go. Yeah. That would be nice.
Anyway, this has been it's really been fantastic to go back and revisit these films. Highly encourage you to go pick them up, check them out, and watch them, and then listen on with us some more.
Definitely.
Do you have anything else? Have I missed anything?
Well, one thing.
Oh, yeah, Neil, we got to rate it.
Yeah, you ready?
Totally.
All right. Well, let's add it to our flick chart and see where it ends up. Like I said, it's not one of my favorite films. I definitely find it watchable, but again, it's I probably would watch other films over it.
Yeah, totally.
So here we go. Prizzi's Honor or The Dark Knight Rises.
See, I would choose The Dark Knight Rises.
I don't know. I kind of don't feel like ever watching Dark Knight Rises again, but
God, you are mean-spirited sometimes.
It was just such a letdown to me.
Please.
I probably would watch Dark Knight Rises, though. I'll go with that. Okay, Prizzi's Honor or The Parallax View?
Oh, it's such a toss-up for me.
I'd watch The Parallax View.
Why?
I enjoy the darkness and the political intrigue and that really dark ending where the conspiracy and the paranoia is true. And I find that really
if you're going to go dark, that's where you want to go.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you that.
Yep. Prizzi's Honor or Bullet?
Oh, Bullet.
Yeah. Prizzi Honor or Alien Resurrection? Totally
Prizzi's Honor.
Or Key Largo. Oh, here we go. Some Houston on
right?
Houston.
Houston on Houston. I would watch Key Largo.
I think I would too. All right. And we're now at number 69 out of 73.
Oh, your internet's going hog wild. 60. You just said 69 out of 73?
69 out of 73.
I love it.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's. I honestly can't believe it's that low. But I think that's testament to all the great movies that we've already talked about.
Well, it was called Movies We Like, so it is pretty populated with movies that we do like.
Movies we do like, yeah, and 3 that we don't.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, good talk, man.
Definitely, and we will be talking soon.
Yeah, we should do that. We should do this again next week.
Let's.
All right. I'll talk to you then.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you for your continued support over the years. It's hard to believe that we have been having weekly, in-depth discussions about movies since 2011.
That's right, 12 years and counting. Producing this show is a labor of love for us, but it does require a lot of time and effort each week.
If you enjoy our podcast and would love to help keep it going, there are some easy ways you can show your support. One is by using our Originals page to shop for the original source material that movies we've discussed were based on.
That's right. In Season 1 alone, we covered 13 films adapted from books or plays, from Charlie Kaufman's adaptation to David Fincher adaptations like Fight Club.
In Season 2, we covered even more, like Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes and The African Queen from our series about legendary cinematographer Jack Cardiff.
We can't forget about the 4 Jason Bourne movies we talked about. Love those movies. Well, the original trilogy, at least.
For our Richard D. Zanuck series, we did Jaws, Rush, Big Fish, and more. And for our horror series, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, which was adapted from Who Goes There?
We did our first great car chase series with movies like Bullet, The French Connection, and Drive. And for the holidays, we did Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July.
We had a great John Huston series with adaptations like The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And for our baseball series, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Have I told you lately how much I love that movie?
Yeah, I think you have. Plus, our Magician series and Heist film series had adaptations as well.
Tons of page-to-screen gems. Listeners can find the details and links to the original material at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play, or movie you buy through our links helps support the show, and it's no extra cost to you.
So dive in and get your next read today. thenextreel.com/originals has all the films adapted from other sources that not only we have covered, but all of the shows on the Next Reel family of podcasts. Check it out and get reading.
Support the show and build your reading list. It's a win-win. Head to thenextreel.com/originals.